are the existing components of our modular blacklight course over here. And now we're going to be using some of this bamboo edging that I got from Home Depot and some trash foam. This already broke up out of one big block. And then I just took some scrap wood that I had around to make a solid frame. One thing I learned from these, which you can see a little bit here, is the expanding foam does bow up a little bit as it dries. So when you look at the back side of this piece, you can see it's wanting to lift up slightly in the on the bottom there. I added a little bit more cardboard. So this wooden frame should help us out a little bit. So I made this mountain 7.5 inches wide so I can slide it under my futon in my office or hide it in the closet really easy. So 3 of these about 2.5 inch pieces of foam broken in half are just kind of going to make the bulk of the volume underneath the expanding foam, because this stuff is free and expanding foam is about $5, $6 a can. So we're going to fill this in with foam before we put on the expanding foam, which will be hard and solid on top. All right, so we got the start of the incline, which the very bottom of will be extra expanding foam and filled in with some of this concrete patch that has silica in it. Keeps it nice and flexible and paintable. Then we got the gap for this bamboo bridge, and then the end of it's going to be really steep, too steep to even descend, but then we're going to be building a kind of modular wood bridge out of these popsicle sticks that you'll be able to place on there at varying angles to allow you to go back down or go up and cross the bridge. And I want that to be separate piece because it's starting to get pretty long, so you can take that modular bridge off and store these two things separate. You're just going to glob a little bit of hot glue just to hold stuff in place, because the expanding foam really holds everything in place, but it will kind of push stuff apart at first. So you want to hold stuff in place just while you're doing your expanding foam. So I'm doing this part inside on the floor so I don't get my pool table gunked up and dirty. And then I'm going to do the expanding foam outside. All right, now we got one solid object. And the big gap filler fills up to 3 inches, which is just going to give us more volume in a single can. I think this stuff might cost $1 more than the other stuff, but I'm not exactly sure. All right, put a little piece of cardboard underneath this just to keep it a little bit more flat and keep so much rocks and sand from sticking to the expanding foam. I'm not going to be doing the sides. And I would highly recommend you wear gloves. Don't do as I do. You don't want to just go side to side and make it all the same. You kind of want to do different angles and shapes, different thicknesses. inside here, I want to leave enough for cars to pass under the bridge. And I want to leave just the very tip top of this wood exposed so you can attach the bridge and see where I need to screw in. Oh, the Roadrunner's coming. He wants to watch. What's up, buddy? The foam is still really wet and the wind is starting to pick up. Hope it doesn't mess anything up. Blow away some chunks of foam. And while we wait for that expanding foam to cure, I just wanted to go over my little seesaw bridge here. I bought a pre-cut wood set that snaps together online, and before snapping it all together, I spray painted everything silver except for the main base. I painted orange. I painted the very base black, but then painted this neon orange so it'll glow under the black light, and then just hand painted this wood grain on here. Kind of comic booky, kind of simple, but it makes it look pretty cool amongst all this other neon stuff once I got the neon lights on. Really easy and kind of unique little project. Okay, so the foam is mostly cured, at least on the outside. It's a little squishy on the inside. I'm gonna try to kind of push a couple spots in to get some more interesting shapes while it's curing on the inside, but not too much because it's looking pretty good. I will carve a little bit away with some foam, with a knife. Definitely some places I need to fill in. I want to cover all of this wood here, so I'm definitely going to use a whole nother can, maybe even 2 more cans to cover up all of that as well. So I just laid down a second can of expanding foam. It still has to cure, still going to expand. I didn't cover everything solid, but some of the gaps and holes I can maybe just fill in with some spackle. But should at least be a good starting point for some good natural shapes. I also trimmed the sides of the first part that we let cure and kind of shoved some of those extra pieces just as a starter to fill some corners and just get some extra bulk and volume for free. And I tried this before, but while this is still curing, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of sand and gravel or rocks, see if that gives it some good texture. But I am probably going to carve some of this off, so let's just experiment. Okay, so now we're going to test the incline with the AX24. So right now the surface of the foam is really smooth. I haven't added any spackle or texture to it, other than that sand that we put on. This stuff seemed to add a good amount of grip, but not a lot of it is sticking, but it seems to help. So I'm going to try cutting some little grooves into this to get some places for the tires to catch before I even spackle it, which will be adding a lot more texture. But yeah, it's just some of these little rounded edges could just use some little grooves for the tires. So you can see I cut out a bunch of notches all over the place. Well, it looks like we might have gone a little too steep. I might need to use some more foam to extend out the whole angle. All right, and we're back with a fresh can of expanding foam. This is the regular stuff. That way we can compare and contrast the durability. It was also $1.50 less for a can, so we'll see what happens. Glued these pieces down to get some just some volume down here, and I'm going to cover it, try to just make it more gradual incline, probably to about here. I might add a little bit onto this board here too. It's not quite high enough, but mostly need to make it less steep. All right, hopefully pretty much any crawler can make it up this. And then the bridge across to here. Okay, so now I'm just trimming some of the high points off and making some little traction points and just smoothing stuff out, making some of the bubbly shapes kind of go away, a little more natural rock shape for when I start adding stuff over the top. So I'm gonna trim off this extra cardboard around the bottom and then apply this acrylic concrete patch mix or pre-mixed stuff. It should flex a little bit so it doesn't crack and fall off. Okay, so I'm gonna try to kind of sculpt out individual rock shapes with this stuff to make it feel as natural and realistic as possible before I paint it. Let's see. I'm gonna attempt to use gloves, try to keep my hands clean, but I have a feeling that they're just gonna rip right off with this stuff. This stuff's probably gonna be sticky and gunky, but I'm gonna try. Oh yeah, where are my tools? Filling in the cracks or the seams in the foam. The way it bubbles up, it just looks very unnatural. It doesn't look very rock-like. Kind of starts to create some rock shapes. Kind of use those organic shapes that it gives you, but just try to hide the ballooning from curing foam. Alright, so we got the first half done. The gloves actually worked out pretty well. And then I'm gonna come back, finish the second half, and by then most of this should be cured and I can kind of knock off all the high points and little bits that aren't gonna crumble off. So I found these cool shards of black glass while I was on a walk. I'm gonna kind of arrange them in some cool crystal formations on this thing. Alright, so a little bit of hot glue, and then I will cement them in with that concrete patch, as well as find a place for this guy. I think kind of over in here. Something like that would look cool. Alright, and I'm trying something a little bit different this time because I had enough leftover mix that I just covered the flat sides. See how well that holds up. Hopefully it doesn't crack off some of the packing foam that I used. And if it does, hopefully it looks cool, like an old fresco or something. Once you got all the little crumbs knocked off, time to paint it black. I'm not gonna waste your time watching me paint. And I will mask off these little crystals before I paint with some tape. So I did a test fitting of the bridge before final paint, but I might recommend doing it before even the base coat of paint because I had to patch this. Hopefully this other spray paint I do will cover that. But bridge fits nice, and then we'll have a kind of ramp bridge going down from here. So now instead of brushing on paint, I'm spray painting it, but I'm painting straight down from the top. So from the top you can see it looks pretty solid, but it actually gets some really kind of in-depth shading that you might not be able to see too well in this lighting. But I'm going to do a couple more coats of pink, and then some orange, and then some little highlights of yellow. Alright, now we got some orange highlights. This camera really doesn't seem to be picking up the difference between the orange and the pink very well. Alright, so I've applied the yellow. I found that I get some really cool sort of patterns and textures if I gently, I messed that one up a little bit, but if I just gently rub off some of these high points of the yellow, you get some cool pink showing through and black showing through. I might need to go touch some of them up with a brush later, but it does get some cool little highlights. And alright, so we got our wooden ramp bridge made out of popsicle sticks and a wood stake that I ripped in half. I did try to sort of make the cut a little bit wobbly so we'd get some undulation from side to side on the bridge here. And Yeah, cut off the tips, the rounded tips of the popsicle sticks, and use some scrap wood. We're effectively going to make the course 2 or 3 times larger by making our truck about half or 1/3 the size. Okay, one hand driving here. That was my mistake. Alright, so my wife is going to be home soon, so I packed up the course really quick. You can see everything stacks together really compact, or just slide right under the bed. So even though I built this whole thing with 18th and 24th scale stuff in mind, it really turns out that the Scx30 gets way more fun on a smaller course like this, and it makes the whole thing feel so much bigger. And this was just meant to be a decorative piece originally, but now I think it's my favorite line on the whole course. Right, now how cool of a spot is that to climb up to for such a small little course. Alright, so it's the next night. I've rearranged everything into a completely different layout. I'm in the kitchen now, and got everything kind of elevated up onto this chair from the bridge to this case to the bridge up to this stool, and then we're going to test it out with the Wienermobile. So that is about all for today, folks. I'm just going to run this Scx30 around the course here, and do want to know what everybody thinks about the hand-painted rocks on the right from my old video compared to the new spray-painted rocks here on the left. I can't decide. I kind of like them both. Maybe I can make a video in the future where I do a more realistic style, where I kind of have to do a combination of various painting techniques. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'm probably going to be doing a video as soon as possible on the new Mammoth Mountain based course from Universal Rocks that I just got in the mail, and maybe I can even make something kind of based on that in the future. So thanks for watching. I'm sure that if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably one of my 250 subs. And if you want to support the channel, buy our stickers from the California Worldwide website. That's ca-ww.com. And everything you buy from that website will directly support this channel, as that is my little hobby brand. So thanks for your support, and have a good one, everybody. Thanks.